Greetings, welcome to the program Legal Matters, coming to you on TDN Africa Media. I am AMADU Esba, and with me in the studio, I am with Mr. Emmanuel King, who happens to be our usual contributor. And today in the program, we will be talking about electoral laws with reference to the Public Elections Act of 2022. Hello, Mr. King, and welcome to the program Legal Matters.
Thank you, Mr. Ba, and good day to our viewers.
So, Mr. King, today we want to look at electoral laws, given that we are in the period of elections now. And the layman would like to understand what are the electoral laws, what are the functions of electoral laws, and just that has got to do with electoral laws itself, making reference to the Public Elections Act, on which we believe is the background we are going to have the general election on come the 24th of June 2023. So to start with, what are electoral laws?
Yes, thank you very much. I think today is going to be an interesting session. When we speak about electoral laws, we talk about all laws tend to provide for a certain regime in society. So for the purposes of elections in any country, you have certain laws that are laid down to guide the conduct of elections in that particular country. And so in our own instance case, we have the Public Elections Act of 2022. Yeah, the newly passed Public Elections Act of 2022, which repealed and replaces the Public Elections Act of 2012.
Okay.
Yes, and so it is the Public Elections Act of 2022, which is our major electoral law right now in Sierra Leone.
Okay, so now you may want to talk lengthily a little bit on electoral laws for the understanding of the layman, as you've always referred to us. But now let's start with, what are the functions of these electoral laws?
Yes, as I have stated in the opening statement, electoral laws tend to guide all activities that are ordinarily incidental to what happens in electoral periods. Okay. All the processes leading up to general elections have to be provided for by the law. So for instance now, when you have general elections, we know we need to have the voter registration process, we need to have the registration of intending political candidates, for instance, the position of the presidency, parliamentarians. So all of these things have to be captured in a piece of legislation. So the law has to make provision as to how every one of these single things are to be conducted. Okay. How the voter registration process is to be conducted, how the staff of the Electoral Commission are to be recruited, how they are to be trained, the period for which they are to be trained. So certain rules, certain regulations, certain laws have to be laid down to guide this process, because we do not want to see a situation where someone would now come and say, okay, I will take my cousin from Blama, he is going to work as Electoral Commission staff, I will take my post. No, the law prescribes the process which has to be followed. So it has to be based on competence and qualification, you know. So you do not just go about even the Electoral Commission does not have a mandate. So they do not have the free hand, I should put it that way, to just go about and recruit anybody just like that. So it is provided by law as to how they should do so. If the voter registration process is a process also provided by these laws, by these electoral laws, as to how it should be conducted, the time frame for which the process should take to register the voters, who is an eligible person that should be registered. You should have to provide, the law should have to provide the reasons why a particular individual cannot be registered to vote, who as a matter of fact qualifies to register to vote, who qualifies to be a member of parliament, who qualifies to be a presidential candidate. All of these things are captured by electoral laws.
Okay. Now, a lot of people will want to understand, of course, we all know these electoral laws are carried out by the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. Now, what are the stiff laws that the common or the layman needs to really know when it comes to this, apart from the mandate given to the commission? Because there I believe there are laws that the layman really need to know about when it comes to this. Are there any specific laws that guides the layman as to how they should also carry themselves during elections? So,
for the purposes of this question that you've asked, the Electoral Commission is the body charged with the responsibility to conduct public elections in Sierra Leone. And this mandate was given to the Electoral Commission by our constitution, our 1991 constitution. Okay, so even the Electoral Commission is provided for by a law book, which is our constitution. So our constitution makes a provision that the Electoral Commission should be responsible, charged with the mandate to conduct public elections. But it does not stop there. The Constitution is our holy grail with regards the book from which all of our subsisting legislations flow from. All the other legislations that we have in this country should draw their mandate from the Constitution. Okay? So the Electoral Commission will develop a bill.
Okay.
They will develop a bill that we want the election to be run in this certain way. We want this particular election to be conducted in this certain way. And this bill will be taken to Parliament because Parliament is charged with the responsibility of making laws for the land.
Okay.
So it is not the duty or responsibility of the Electoral Commission to impose laws on the electorate. To say this is the rules, these are the regulations that you would have to follow for the purposes of these elections. No. They will recommend these rules, they put it down into a bill, and then propose it to Parliament. And Parliament will look at it, debate it, see whether they can enact it. Okay? So in our instant case, our Electoral Commission proposed the 2022 public elections laws to repeal and replace that of the 2012 election laws. I am trying to build this foundation to answer your question with regards what are the roles and responsibilities of voters, or what are the particular rules and regulations or laws that provide for how the voters should conduct themselves.
Yeah.
Now, the voters should concern themselves particularly to the voter registration provisions of the public election laws. Okay? The public election law of 2022.
Okay.
The voter should concern himself with voter registration in that particular law. But it should not only stop there, the voter should understand how the whole electoral process is to be conducted. Okay? How the whole process is to be conducted. So that is why we see when it's very close to elections, the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone will do public sensitization programs to make sure that every single citizen is abreast with how the process will be run. So for instance, now we've gotten to a stage where the public awareness program that is going on is the collection of voter cards. So we have passed the stage of voter registration. You know, when we were at the voter registration stage, the commission sensitized the people how the process is going to be run. So these are the things that the voting masses should concern themselves about. Okay, so everybody went. Well, most people. We have those people who really wanted to stay disinterested in election processes. So they say, okay, me, I'm not going to register. I don't even want to know what is happening. I encourage these people, this is just in passing. I encourage these people to be involved with electoral processes, regardless whether you have a candidate of choice or not. Okay, because as a citizen, it is your civic right, your civic right to be involved in these kinds of processes, decision making in your country, so that you will not sit in your corner and be complaining, I don't like how the government is being run, when you have not contributed. Okay? So the voter should concern himself with the voter registration process and how he should vote for his representatives. How he should cast his ballot for his representatives. He should try to understand the process, and all of these are captured in the Public Elections Act, in the voter laws across the aisle. Okay? So one of the things that should also be of concern to the voter is how his representatives, because these representatives will not come from space. There are people among us. It's even a possibility that this said voter will one day be a representative. So you should try to concern yourself as to the process by which you should follow to be a representative in parliament, to be the president, you know, to be a councillor, to be the mayor, because all of these things are captured in the laws. They are provided for. That for you to be a president of Sierra Leone, you have to be aged 41, you have to be qualified to be a member of parliament, you know, and all of these provisions are there. So, for instance, now, yourself and myself, as young as we are, we cannot just be presidents of Sierra Leone because the laws provide that you have to be age 41. I'm quite sure that you are not yet age 41.
I am not.
Yes. So, once you know that, you know, well, I have not got it, because the law has provided that you have to be 41. Okay? You have to qualify to be a member of parliament. There are prescriptions also in the laws that would say, how should this person be for him to be a member of parliament? Okay, so once you meet these requirements, once you understand these requirements as a voter, you now are in a very good position to say, okay, even myself, I am qualified. So I can apply, I can follow all the procedures, and then I can now open my campaign to get people to understand my policies and then vote for me. What other things that the voter should have his mind to is the fact that the campaigns also follow a specific procedure as enshrined in these public elections laws. Okay, so like I said, for the purpose, these laws are most times wholesome. We only find very small spaces in the laws because the law provides for almost everything in a particular context. So for the context of elections, even campaigns are captured as to how political parties should go about their campaigns, what they should first of all do before they go into campaigns. So you have to give a 3 days notice to the police, because we all know how political campaigns are in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
You know, we gather a lot of people in a particular place, or we tend to gather a lot of people in the major streets of Freetown, and you have to ask the police for protection and security, to provide security, because ours is a context where these activities tend to slide quickly into violent confrontations. So you need the presence of the police to be around to see how best they could quickly quell these abnormal situations. Okay. So, as a voter, you need to avert your mind also to the process of campaigns. How campaigns are to be led, what are the processes leading up to campaign. So that you know, because I would not go and rally for a political party that has not taken a permission from the police. Okay, so if the police now come on here and say X political party has not yet taken permission from us to have this political rally, I know as a voter who subscribes to this political party, if I go out on the streets and try to join the campaign or the rally of this party, I will be arrested by the police. I will be arrested because the police has not given the go-ahead. They have not given the permission to this political party to campaign. So once the voter also knows that, he's in a fine position to guide himself, Because as a human being, your first foot forward should be self-preservation. You have to look out for yourself first. So the laws are there. What we should do as citizens is to get copies of these laws, these legislations. We read them because they are written in plain English, even though there are some technicalities sometimes.
Yeah.
But some of these legislations are written in plain English. Yeah. So you go, you read it and say, okay, so I should not follow a political party that has not taken a 3 days, that has not given a 3 days notice to the police for permission from the police to hold their political rallies. Okay, so the voter should avert his mind to that. The voter should also understand how the Electoral Commission will eventually come to a decision as to how a particular candidate emerges as winner. This is also important because once you have an understanding as to how the Electoral Commission comes to the decision that this person has won, you are now in a position where you will be able to accept the result. You will be able to accept the result that is put out by the Electoral Commission, or you challenge the result. Because once you look at the provisions of the Public Elections Act of 2022 and some other supporting electoral laws, you see that it should be returns from polling stations and not returns from district offices. You say, why is our ECSL taking returns from the district offices instead of returns from the polling stations to reach to a determination of who has won these elections? Why is it the case? I think this process was flawed, and we need to litigate this process. We need to go to court and ask for clarification. Okay. The citizens should understand that once election results have been announced and you are dissatisfied, you are of the conviction, your conviction is evidence-based that the Electoral Commission did not come to a determination of who the winner is through the right means, you have to seek redress from the courts and not resort to violence. Okay. As long as you understand the provisions of the law, you can carefully scribble down your petition and take it to the courts and support it with your evidence and the provisions of the law. So once you understand these provisions, you are properly guided as a voter.
As a voter.
Yes.
Okay. So now you just made us realize that there was a Public Elections Act in 2012.
Yes.
And that of Public Elections Act of 2022, which replaces the 2012 Act.
It's repealed.
So now, what are the distinct features of this particular new act that we're talking about?
Yes, this Public Elections Act was the much debated act. Okay. It is considered in our political history to be the most debated for the purposes of elections and legislation in this country, because members of the opposition deemed this particular act to be an act that gives significant advantage to the members of the incumbent.
And why do you think they saw it that way?
Yes, because in our political history and political bifurcation, we see it is not hidden. In the past elections, in the past 3 elections in this country, we have had the majority in the House of Parliament coming from the APC party. Okay? We have had the majority of parliamentary seats coming from the APC party. Okay. This is because the election was constituency-based when it comes to the votes for parliamentarians. Okay. Yes, it was constituency-based. And so the 2022 Act, one of the provisions in that Act, it was thought that the Public Elections Act of 2022 captured that particular one. But the incumbent said, as a matter of fact, it did not capture it. What are the main features of this particular 2022 Public Elections Act? Is that there are reserved seats now for women in parliament. Okay. Yes. So the major thing that was captured in the Public Elections Act was the reserved seats for women in parliament, and also how voter registration is to be done.
Okay.
Okay. So these are some of the major things. But the opposition was not actually satisfied with this one, because they had actually seen a prior copy of this bill. But this bill was then withdrawn from Parliament.
Okay.
It was withdrawn, and then I think some adjustments were made, and it was then retabled in Parliament, absent this proportional representation provision. So when the president pronounced that the elections were going to be conducted on the basis of proportional representation, the opposition decided to litigate. They decided to go to court. That we are going to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation from the Supreme Court as to whether the president, first of all, has the right to do that proclamation, and secondly, as per provisions of the Constitution, we already have duly constituted constituencies which have not gone out of use just yet.
As a result of the case they put forward.
Yes. So this is this is where the matters they put before the courts. Yes. Yeah. This is where the matters they put before the court for consideration. Okay. That, as a matter of fact, provisions of the Constitution, Section 38A and B, 38 1A and B, prescribes that there should be constituencies. Okay, that should be that in the absence of constituencies we consider a proportional representation. But we cannot now consider proportional representation. We cannot now consider proportional when we still have constituencies at play.
Okay.
So that was the argument. But of course, we've had a decision from the Supreme Court that, as a matter of fact, the provisions of the proportional representation are also enshrined in the Constitution, so there was no cause for alarm. So the incumbent government got a very favorable decision from the Supreme Court, and so the ECSL now proceeds to hold this election under the proportional representation system.
Okay. So another key thing that people would really want to have clarity on is, I know you are not a statistician general, or let's say you are a statistician, you are a lawyer, but a lot have been said that these electoral laws go side by side, especially when it comes to making decisions on boundary delimitation and that of that we show whether we go by district block or a constituency-based election. Census influenced this particular decision made by the ECSL to reach that decision to advise the president on the proportional representation. What does the law provide when it comes to that really, for the Electoral Commission to go side by side with that of the census result? How do you understand that as a lawyer?
Okay, well, it is always argued that the census tends to show the population per capita in a particular district in this country.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a pointer as to who holds the advantage when it comes to the general elections. Okay, it is also a pointer as to when boundaries will be delimited, how many seats in parliament a particular party will be open to have.
Okay.
How many seats each district will have by this boundary delimitation by the districts. But the boundary delimitation exercise was not completed by the ECSL. Okay. They started, and it was their argument that the advent of the COVID stalled them on the way, and they were not able to continue. So we still, it is my argument that we still have constituted constituencies.
Okay.
We still have operational constituencies which we should have gone by. But That was not the issue before the court in that respect. It was as to whether the proportional representation was in the 1999 Constitution, which the court withheld that particular position. But as a matter of fact, provisions of the proportional representation are still in the 1991 Constitution, and so the president was in his right to make that proclamation. So now the census result, as was put forward by Statistics Sierra Leone, tends to now lean towards the narrative. Tends to now lean towards the narrative of the incumbent.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because we see a situation where places like Kenema have more population density than places like Freetown.
Okay.
Yes, which captures the attention of almost all independent observers as to how in the world would we have more population, more people in Kenema than we have in Freetown. Yes, it was quite interesting.
Yes.
But it brought a lot of dissatisfaction to the side of the opposition, because they understood it from the perspective that it is all a ploy to now give Kenema some more seats. Okay, so now what would happen under the proportional representation system is that Kenema will be attributed more seats. It will be allocated more seats than Freetown because there are more people in Kenema than Freetown.
Okay, so that the number which the Statistics Sierra Leone presented is what that is going to reflect when it comes to the distribution of seats.
Distribution of seats in Parliament. So we will now see the end game of this particular one is for parliamentary control.
Okay, as you just stated for the last government, when you said the last government, let's say the last government had highest seats, highest number of seats.
Yeah, so it is usually the case that in our political history that the APC usually have the highest seats in Parliament because of how the constituency elections were on. But the incumbent government have now found a very clever way to see how best they can dislodge that particular trend by bringing in the proportional representation system, which is being aided by the census.
Okay.
Yes. So the proportional representation system is being aided by the census results. So we now see a situation where Kenema has more population than Western area urban.
According to the census.
According to the census. So Kenema, by the proportional representation, we will have more seats than Western area urban.
Wow.
So we see a situation where the incumbents would score more points if they have the number of votes required to have all the seats in Kenema. They will have all the seats in Kenema because if they poll over 90% of the votes, that means they are going to have all the seats in Kenema. Okay, so it's going to be almost the same for Bo. So going to be almost the same for Bo, the likes of Kailao, as long as they poll the majority of the votes. So how the proportional representation system works is, for instance, now, if there are 10 seats in Freetown, there are 10 seats, and the APC polls or scores 60% of the votes cast in the Western area, and the SLPP, let's say, plus or minus, score 40%. Okay, so in these 10 seats, it's going to be distributed that APC will have 6 seats and the SLPP will have 4 seats. Okay, so now you now see a case where when it comes to Kenema, and they have like 15 seats, and the SLPP score like 90 or 95% of the votes cast in Kenema, it's possible that they are going to have all the 15 seats in Kenema. So we now see a situation where it is tilting towards the fact that the SLPP will have a majority in Parliament because of these systems that are now in place.
Okay, and as we move by, people are trying to really understand the PR system. Now, you've explained, and a lot of people will start to understand where the proportional representation is really heading towards. You've made us really start saying that it is really on the advantage of a certain political party or certain politicians. For the reality of it all, do you think it's in the advantage of the common citizens?
No.
And
I am one of those people who believe the proportional representation system is anti-democratic. It is anti-democratic because it takes away the rights of the citizen to determine who their representatives are in the House of Representatives.
And Parliament advanced one of the reasons that over the years, parliamentarians have not been very, very productive when it comes to constituency.
That is not for anyone to say. As members of a particular constituency, we have decided by voting, we cast our belief in this particular individual that he will represent us. It is our choice. If we think that he has not performed, we will now vote for somebody else in the next election. But it is not for the state to now come and tell us that you are no longer going to determine who will represent you. Your political parties will determine who will represent you in the House of Parliament. So they have taken the power away from the people. They have taken, it is my position that they've taken the democratic right away from the people to determine who their representatives are.
And one of the arguments they also put forward is that when it comes to disproportional representation, you've just said it that it's now the power is now left to the political parties to determine who is going to be in parliament to represent certain districts.
Yes.
And now they've advanced another saying that you have independent candidate contesting. Do you think they have advantage?
No.
In this?
No. Independent candidates do not hold any advantage at all. We know our political system in this country is bifurcated. By that I mean we only have two major parties.
True.
Okay. We have seen, of course, precedents are there. We have seen instances where independent candidates do win, but it happens sparingly.
It's true.
It happens sparingly. It's a swallow that does not make a summer.
Okay.
It's a swallow that does not make a summer. So just one occurrence cannot be the norm. Okay, we cannot say because Honorable Tawa was an independent candidate and he won, everybody else who's an independent candidate win. No. What obtains in this country is that political party candidates almost always win in these elections. Have you ever seen an independent candidate who has won the presidential seat before?
No, not really.
Not even close.
Really, not close.
Every single one of them have scored below 0.1% of the general votes cast. People don't even contemplate even voting for independent candidates in this country. So it is a big minus to independent candidates. Okay? Now the people, much education has not been done around this PR system.
No, I can agree with you.
Much education has not been done around this PR system. And most people are still confused as to the real workings and machinations of this PR system. How is it going to be done? Because usually, when we go to the polling booth, we will see all the candidates. I have my preferred candidate. So I will see him on the list, and I will vote for him. Now, what I vote for is a political party. I will see this political party, and I vote for the political party, not knowing who is going to represent me in the House of Parliament. And what if I have a concern, as a community, we have a concern that we want to put forward to the House of Representatives? We usually do this through our representative, who is a member of Parliament. But now, who is going to be the person that we are going to channel this particular concern to? So to put in the House of Parliament that as a matter of fact, constituency 125, we are not satisfied with the fact that there is excess flooding in our area. We want the House of Parliament to develop a policy as to how we should curb something like this. How do we channel this? How do we get this to reach the House of Representatives?
Maybe they are thinking that you voted for a political party, you may have to pass through the party again.
No, it used to be very, very easy. We usually know the person that we hold accountable.
Sure.
We usually know the person that we hold accountable for our constituency. We usually know the person through which we channel our concerns. Now we don't know anymore. The party just develops a list. And it is now everybody's game. I subscribe to the Marxian conception, which says society is led by the rich people. The rich people determine everything that happens in society. I believe that Karl Marx was absolutely right. So what we are going to see in this PR system is the fact that people who can actually buy their way onto the list of these political parties are the ones who are, yes, because political activities are not cheap. And all these political parties need money to conduct their campaigns. So people who have large pockets will now come and say, okay, I will give the party 5 billion leones. You put my name in a very preferential position on the list in the Western area. So once the party scores a certain percentage, I am guaranteed to go to parliament. I don't even need to convince anybody. I don't need to even tell the people that I have this plan for so you, these are my policies.
You may just need to show yourself to the party.
You just need to have a large pocket and subscribe with 5 billion. And then your name is on the list. You understand?
If you're just joining us, the program you're watching is Legal Matters, coming to you on TDN Africa Media, and I'm here with Mr. King, who happens to be one of our usual contributors. We're going for a short break. We'll be back, and then we'll come and talk on the PPRC ban on politics. Welcome back to the program Legal Matters, coming to you on TDN Africa Media. And with me in the studio is Mr. King, who is here to help us talk about the electoral laws, and that has got to do with the Public Elections Act of 2022. And Mr. King, a very sensitive matter that arose few days ago in the political landscape of Sierra Leone. As you know, the Political Party Regulatory Commission, according to them, we've consulted the political parties, 17 political parties, and they've all agreed that there should be a ban on the political campaign street rally. They didn't say there wouldn't be a rally, but they just don't want street rallies. And in as much as they said these 17, 16 political parties agreed, from what we've gathered as a media house so far, we would like to say 2 parties who've proven not to be part of it. In fact, 3, so to speak, because we spoke to C4C, the Coalition for Change, and the Unity Party, and that's of the All People's Congress, that happens to be the main opposition party. Being in the law field and considering our national constitution, do you think this decision by the PPRC, meets the expectation for our election, so to speak?
Yeah, by the laws of this land, especially the 1991 Constitution, and by a particular decision that has been reached by the Supreme Court of this country, the PPRC do not have the standing to determine whether a political party should hold rallies or not. The PPRC do not have that standing. They do not. They do not. And it is the same PPRC who have once told us that it is only 3 political parties in this country that are duly constituted to enter into the general elections. Only 3. So they cannot now come and tell us that they've conferred with 13 political parties. This is a contradiction of their statements, and it is conflicting and inconsistent, because they previously said only 3 parties are duly constituted to enter into these elections.
We did have that report.
Yes, and now they are also saying we've consulted 13 political parties. On the one breath, you are saying 3 political parties are good enough to contest by looking at all the parameters and all the set standards. You say only 3 political parties will meet. How can you go and hold meeting now with 13 political parties? It is my position that we have political parties in this country that have no business, absolutely no business. But this is my position. By the laws, everybody is free to assemble, everybody is free to associate. Mr. Barr can now wake up one morning and say, okay, I will now form my own political party. As long as you have your own, you have enough money, you can follow the due process and register a political party. But your political party should be diversified. It should be in all the 4 corners of this country. You cannot only have a political party and you only have one office in Freetown. The PPRC should not allow for something like that. This is, as a matter of fact, the actual mandate of the PPRC. Okay. To look at these things. We cannot have, all due respect to certain political parties, they don't even have offices in the likes of Bo or Kenema or McKinney or Pujon. They don't have offices in these places. But they say they are political parties of this country. As a political party, you should not only meet the basic requirements, you should also meet those other challenging requirements. How can you be a political party when there is an election, you don't have a candidate to contest? We've seen a lot of by-elections in this country during this particular 5-year period, in which only 3 political parties will contest these elections. And we have over 13 to 14 political parties. So it is all these other small parties that are causing these problems. They will only go to PPRC to vote on these particular positions, not thinking of the provisions of the Constitution or the rights of the people. Okay, so it is the right as prescribed by Section 23 and its following provisos that the citizens of this country have a freedom to assemble, they have a freedom to participate in whatsoever they want, as long as it is within the confines of the law. What the police should do is to provide security for the people to express themselves, to assemble, to participate. The police, the only mandate they have is to protect these people. Okay? The PPRC cannot, they do not have the standing. This is my position. So Isengbe Mara versus NEC in the last elections, when NEC said there should be no vehicular movement in the country, it went to the Supreme Court immediately. And the Supreme Court's decision was such that the National Electoral Commission, as it was then, have no standing, they have no right to tell the people of this country not to move with their vehicles around on elections day. They have no right to do so. And we go by that particular decision. It is the same for the PPRC. The PPRC cannot say a political party cannot hold its rallies. So
what if it is part of one of their mandates?
It is not
enshrined in the regulatory act.
It is not.
The PPRC Act of 2022.
It is not. It is not. If you can look at the whole act from the top to the bottom, the PPRC does not have that mandate to tell political parties not to hold political rallies in this country. The duty of the political parties is to inform the police that we want to hold our political rallies. And the police will now give them go ahead and say, okay, we will provide security for you while you rally. We need to know the heads of these rallies so that if anything goes wrong, they are the people that will bear the greatest responsibility. Because we know in these rallies, small skirmishes of violence happen sometimes. Okay, so the police need to know the person they would fall on when these things happen. They just need to know that this rally has a face. So for instance now, it's the rally of the SLPP, the leadership of the party of the SLPP, Dr. Prince Adin, Julius Marabio, these are the people that the PPRC will call and say, during your rally, these small skirmishes of violence happen, we would like you to respond to these allegations. Okay, so this is the position. The political parties should go ahead with their rallies because the Constitution guarantees them freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, and freedom of participation. Anything that is inconsistent with a provision of the Constitution,
as the national constitution.
Yes, it's to that particular extent null and void.
Okay.
It is void because the PPRC seeks to restrict the freedom of expression and association and participation of the people.
Okay. So now, before you leave us, and as a lawyer and as a young person, what will be your final message and election message to Sierra Leoneans?
The responsibility of the masses, especially those that are registered, is to vote their candidate, their preferred candidate of choice. Votes for polling day, as a matter of fact, electioneering processes are processes. And number one process is for you tomorrow to go and collect your voter registration card if you registered. So you go, you collect your voter registration card. If you go there and you realize that you registered and you did not see your voter registration card, immediately go to the headquarter office of NEC and make a report that I did not see my voter registration card. I was not able to collect it because the officers responsible for the distribution said XYZ. You make your case because that particular document is also very important. You will use it apart from voting in the election. You will now use it for other future transactions in the country. So you need that document. Okay. So your first step is to collect your voter card, and when it's election day, you go and vote for your preferred. Do not allow anybody to intimidate you. We have had rumors of people taking the cards from certain individuals and promising to give them small-scale microcredit loans. And I said, don't sell your right of franchise for Kokoyebe. Don't do that. Because at the end of the day, that small loan that they will give you, the money will finish. And then we will now have another 5 years of government mismanagement. Because if you did not vote for the right candidate, a candidate who comes to bribe to you is not the right candidate.
It's true.
As long as this candidate comes to bribe you for you to go and vote for him, it's not the right candidate because he has not convinced you with his policies. He's now trying to buy your votes, and once he buys your votes, he's going to try to recoup that money when he is now in the position, in the abundance of state resources. He's going to get all that money back, plus more, plus the money that he is charged with to better your life. He's going to take it and better his own life and his generation. So don't vote for that particular candidate as long as he comes to bribe you. Go and vote your conscience. Look at the policies that the candidates present. At every level, at the ward level, at the parliamentary level, at the presidential level, look at all the policies. Make your choice an informed one. Do not allow anybody to buy your vote. But do not forget to remain peaceful and law-abiding. Because if you don't, and you are arrested, you will go to jail.
Says the lawyer, you need to be law-abiding citizen so that you would not go to jail owing to election misconduct. This is where we bring the curtain down for today's program, Legal Matters. I've been your host, AMADU Esba, and with me it was Mr. Emmanuel King, who is always our usual contributor, I beg your pardon. Don't forget to join us on Tuesdays and on Thursdays for this program coming to you from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. every Tuesdays and Thursday. Here I will say bye-bye for now. Stay with us for more news and